Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the webinar today, the Salesforce Secret to Creating a Highly Productive Sales Team. We are going to get started here in a few minutes. We're going to give an opportunity for people to kind of trickle in. While we're doing that, I'll just go ahead and get a few things kind of out of the way. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Brandon Nyes. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Resolute Software. We're hosting the webinar today. Basically, I'm a business generalist and I love building businesses. I love understanding processes and incorporating people into process and leveraging automation. And I'm a huge PC gaming enthusiast and also a hat enthusiast. Today's number has the, where is that? The Mario tube with the the flower. So if you ever join a future webinar, be sure to keep an eye out for a different hat. I have a lot of them. All right, as we continue to see people join in, I'll go ahead and cover a couple of our housekeeping items right now as well. So to get started, just know that we are live today. If something happens, I'm sorry, that's live TV. But as a precaution, we have this session recorded, so you will receive the recording in about 24 hours. So keep an eye out for your email for that. After the webinar, we're also going to be sending out a short survey, just asking you to provide a small amount of feedback on the presentation if you thought it was valuable, if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, you can tell us that too. And then we would encourage you after the presentation to take a detailed look at our packages for Salesforce services. We are an official Salesforce partner, so that would be something we'd encourage you to do because we'd like to work with you. All right, I think we have everything ready to go. I think we have enough people in the meeting to go ahead and get started. So now that we've taken care of housekeeping, we'll do a quick introduction of Resolute Software. So obviously Resolute Software, well, maybe not obviously, I'm tripping over my words today. Resolute Software is a software engineering and consulting company. And interestingly enough, I used to be a customer of Resolute Software before joining the company. And I joined because I was so impressed with the team of A players that Christo and a number of other leadership in the company has built. Yeah, just an impressive team of people, very efficient, very smart. They are on the leading edge of all technologies. And as I mentioned before, we are now a Salesforce partner as of 2020. So with Yana coming into the team, which I'll introduce in a second, she brings with her a wealth of knowledge in the Salesforce ecosystem. So moving on to our speakers today, we are going to have a bit of, we're hoping to have a conversation about the implementation of Salesforce Sales Cloud and how Amatas, one of our customers, was able to leverage that technology and the Salesforce ecosystem to drive growth, to drive sales, and to improve and increase the rate of digital transformation that they needed to go through. So to start, I'm going to introduce Boris Goncharov. He's the CEO of Amatas. And if you're not aware of who he is he's an information security guru. He's super smart when it comes to cybersecurity, defense models. He is a whiz at this stuff. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he has spoken at many technical conferences like InfoSec Europe, Gartner Security and Risk Management Summit, IDC Security Roadshow, and a ton more. So in the cybersecurity space, Boris is an expert. Boris, thanks for coming on to the webinar with us today.
My pleasure, and thanks for the introduction. I really feel like a star or something, so thank you, Brandon.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for coming on. Second, I'm going to introduce Yana Chavgova. She's our Salesforce consulting manager here at Resolute Software. Under her belt are more than 200 Salesforce projects. And as you can see here, she is certified in 8 different focus areas in that ecosystem, but I am 100% positive that her knowledge does not stop there. She is very educated and knowledgeable and skilled in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I'm happy to welcome her to the webinar today as well. Thanks for joining us, Yana. Oh, I think you muted there.
Sorry, guys, I was muted. Thank you, Brandon.
There you go.
Thank you very much. And hi, everybody.
Absolutely. All right, Yana. So I think this is a good launching point here. We're first going to talk about Salesforce and the CRM stigma that it has. I think we can reflect on the history of Salesforce and see that it originated as a CRM solution, right? A sales tool to help align sales teams. But since its introduction into the market, Salesforce has certainly shed it should be certainly shedding that stigma, right? It's way more than just a CRM.
Yeah, Brandon, actually, you're right. It's even breaking I would say it's breaking the stigma. So Salesforce is on the market for more than 20 years now. So they launched their first product back in the late 90s. And they really started as a simple sales. Well, it was not simple, but still it was a sales automation tool, entirely dedicated to sales processes. 22 years later, actually, we see a wholly different picture. So everybody knows their aggressive approach with developing, building, and acquiring different tools. So with this approach, now they are turning themselves into a one-stop shop for corporate cloud software. So you can find tools for sales, for customer support, for billing, analytics, marketing automation, very, very strong marketing automation tools for B2B, B2C, and many others. And you probably know that they are really, really trying to escape from the CRM stigma. And I think they're doing a pretty good job. And the new term actually is a customer success platform. Because of this concept that you can actually find everything that you need.
Right. So yeah. beyond what Salesforce has done, well, and I mean, we should probably highlight a couple of the things. Like over the last 22 years, you said, Salesforce has gone from being just a CRM to this customer success platform. And we're talking about things like Tableau, we're talking Slack, like big acquisitions, big tools that can really drive a ton of value, and those are now incorporated into the Salesforce packages that you have at your disposal. So tons and tons of value. They're obviously working super hard to continue to innovate and deliver additional features and things to its customers. Now, I think though Salesforce made a wise decision to also in tandem have its app exchange, right? So for situations where Salesforce maybe doesn't do absolutely everything, which it doesn't, it opens up options for outside companies to create solutions that live inside Salesforce as well.
You're right, Brandon. Actually, they're giving this opportunity for different vendors and partners to develop applications and integration applications as well on top of Salesforce. So they can extend the functionality, and that's a very, very great opportunity for. So there are 2 different types of partners: consultancy partners doing implementations, and app exchange, app building partners building apps and posting them on the app exchange. So everybody can take advantage of those additional functionalities. And we are actually part of the first section. So we are a consulting partner to Resolute Software, right. helping companies basically adopt the solution and implement successfully.
Right. So we actually work kind of as a consulting partner. We work in tandem with Salesforce and with some of these other App Exchange partners to understand a client's current business situation, unwrap it, come up with a plan, and potentially what integrations may be needed outside of Salesforce, and then help to implement and train on that thing. So that's how we fit into the whole Salesforce ecosystem, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Perfect.
You're right.
All right. So now when we talk about Salesforce, the biggest thing that we can leverage from Salesforce is the kind of inherent automations, and there's just a ton of efficiencies that we can leverage when we adopt Salesforce. But I kind of want to understand from you the drivers behind that, and talk a little bit about just digital transformation and what you have seen as far as what drives it right now.
Yes, I think you mentioned automation, and automation of processes is number one thing for 2020, and we can actually probably later on we can discuss with Boris how we transition from manual processing into more automated processes and how this helped the organization. But yeah, digital transformation. So digital transformation is priority number one in 2020, and it will be the same in 2021. And the speed with which the changes are happening in 2020, the speed is unseen. I think I have this nice quote from McKinsey and Company. Let me find it. Yeah, so within the first 8 weeks, it's less than 2 months of the crisis, so of the pandemic, we accelerated 5 years forward in consumer and business digital adoption. So can you imagine this? It's a rapid speed, and
sure.
Customers, like the final individuals and businesses, and I can also add to consumers and businesses also governmental and non-governmental organizations. I think they are not keeping the same pace as the business, but they're changing as well.
Sure. And so you mentioned COVID, like it's kind of hard to not at least mention it in some regard, because it threw everything for such a loop, right? But we aren't going to be so bold as to say that COVID is really the main driver behind digital transformation and innovation, right? This is just it was an exacerbator, but really the train, I guess, of digital transformation was already on the tracks, and it was kind of already rolling, right? But McKinsey is really highlighting here that somehow, amidst a crisis, we were able to figure out that we have the infrastructure to really push forward and drive innovation in a very short amount of time. And in this regard, in many ways, Salesforce can be one of those tools that you leverage, to get you to get that digital transformation process started.
Yeah, Brandon. So basically, the focus here is on the right mindset, and with the right mindset comes the right tool. So many companies are adopting a Salesforce product, or most often more than one Salesforce product, and that's first comes the mindset, then comes the tool. So with the right tools, so yeah, who is the winner? Companies and individuals having the right mindset and the right tool. So that's the way to success. That's how they thrive.
Nice. So as we're kind of moving through, and the slide here says the fourth revolution, the kind of the fourth industrial revolution. We've seen kind of over the course of time that we've got kind of these epics of progress that we've made in humanity, and right now we're seeing that shift heavily away from the analog to the digital, and really getting everybody, even like taking from monoliths to the cloud and integrating all of this new and interesting technology. And really, Salesforce was one of the drivers of, like, they really built the infrastructure. They were one of the ones that kind of formed the basis that we can start to digitally transform on. So a huge, very powerful solution, and a variety of solutions when it comes to your business uses. We're going to start talking about some of those, and this is where we're going to bring Boris in. So now, Boris, you had some business struggles, right? You were trying to figure out a number of different issues, and Salesforce became part of that strategy. We also became part of that strategy as an implementation partner. So I'd like to take this opportunity to kind of bring you in. I know you've been sidelined for a little bit, but I want to get you involved here. And I think what we're going to do real quick is, before we dive into the issues and stuff, I'd like to give you an opportunity to kind of describe the starting point when you started engaging with Salesforce. What were some of the major impetus, like the major things that you were looking for?
Okay, yes, Brandon. All right. So basically, every company now, especially a company like ours, which is kind of a young company on the market, just kind of trying to kind of establish itself, especially in some kind of a mature markets. It's very challenging to have efficient process in place. So the main driver behind this is to be able really, that with the limited resources we all have, and to be able properly to kind of engage with the business partners, engage with customers, and be able to bring value quickly to the company. And that's the main struggle. And I think everybody will appreciate how difficult this is nowadays, to kind of run from ground zero and become really kind of a established services provider as our company. When you think about this, it's absolutely essential also to think strategically and try to understand how, in the modern world and the modern society that we all live in this digital environment, what's the best approach to handle, let's say, sales activities. But it's not about only sales, as Yana explained. It's about many other things as well. So we're talking about here about ecosystem. It's not just one thing. It's not about just how we can do sales efficiently. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line. That's kind of the starting point. The more interesting question is how we became efficient and close the whole life cycle of, find new customers, work on opportunities, close opportunities, and then maintain the relationship with the customers. And not only that, to use this information to improve yourself, to make you better, to refine your services, and provide good value for your customers on the market. So it's kind of much more complicated than first appears to be. And that was the main idea of Amatas, basically, and myself and my colleagues to look for the strategic framework that we need to establish, starting from, of course, from the obvious problem, which is, engage with potential customers, find them first, engage them, close the deals, and make a living out of it, and of course, improve yourself constantly and continuously. So that was the main actually idea behind looking for solution on the market. As Yana said, it's not about the tool, although this is kind of debatable, because, well, even if you have the right mindset in place, if you don't have the right tool, it's going to be wasted potential, basically. And all your good ideas may just die because you cannot properly realize them and kind of benefit from them. I can give you plenty of examples of really intelligent people with great ideas failing to deliver these ideas and failing to materialize these ideas just because they didn't have the right tools in their hands, or the right approach, or whatever, or the right resources in order to make them real and to benefit from them. So it's kind of a dual, it's combination of both things, really. having the strategic mindset and also having the strategic tools and frameworks in order to make this real and make real value out of this.
Sure. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, you're obviously thinking about the right way of leveraging the tool, right? Because you don't want to just throw tools in place for no reason. You see the actual overall business impact that a solution like Salesforce can offer, because like you said, it really gives you the option to collaborate across your organization. It's not just a sales tool; it informs other actions within the organization. So that is a huge piece of it. And actually, let's start talking kind of about that. We'll get into the first issue actually. So one of the challenges that you had identified was that you had a high client churn rate. Let's kind of dig into this a little bit. So your model has, I'm assuming, maybe some subscriptions or
yeah, I mean, it's because we are a managed services provider, which, believe me, is a very complicated type of a service to provide your customers. But we see that this is one of the most valuable ways in which we can actually help companies with cybersecurity, who are struggling with cybersecurity. So that's why using Salesforce, it's not kind of a very straightforward sometimes. Doing sales is not really a linear process in which you have a product, you do some marketing stuff on top of that and everything, and then you just start selling it. It's not obviously more complicated, but because in the service industry, it's far much more difficult and far much more engaging, and resource-wise, it's difficult to bring up your service properly and kind of close the deal. So that's actually one of the issues that we had. And first of all, we have to kind of highlight the fact that it's very important, not only for us, it was very important for us, but for every company doing services. It's very important to have this kind of a smooth flow of and the life cycle should be laid out very, very efficiently in order not to lose time on working on opportunities or also renewing opportunities, and continue to deliver your services. Because when you have a subscription model, because the obvious thing you need to do is to make sure that you keep your customers and continue to provide their services on the top of that. But when you have a lot of customers, this became challenging for a very simple reason, because you can lose track of what's currently customer is kind of receiving as a service, not kind of in general, but how it kind of manages the service, when it actually expires, how you can renew this and engage with this process. So you need a very efficient system to kind of have your back and kind of support all these processes. So opportunity management and renewal of opportunity, it's something critical and kind of the baseline that we all needed in the company. And automation, of course, is very important as well. So we don't want, especially nowadays, people running with the paper in their hands and trying to figure out what to do next. I mean, that's not really how we should do things. We need intelligent systems to kind of guide us and make us life easier, not the opposite way around. You should not become slave of your system or kind of be there to kind of be a kind of an element of the system itself. The system should be embedded in your workflow in such a way that flawlessly support your processes. It's not the other opposite way around, because we can see a lot of examples of very complicated, very complex, very heavy systems which are doing exactly the opposite thing. You're living for the system, not the other way around. So that's why Salesforce, it's a tool that can actually blur and merge with your living processes. And you don't even think about whether it's there or not, because it's part of what you're doing all the time. So that's actually what happens when you integrate intelligent system inject your intelligent system into your business workflows.
Right. Exactly. From your perspective, Yana, you helped with the implementation of this. Boris did say something that I keyed in on. Salesforce can be hard, and I'm curious to know from the implementation perspective, like how difficult the solution is solving a high client churn rate in this kind of a situation?
So there might be different solutions for this kind of challenges. Our solution is to automate the renewal opportunity based on projected close date, revenue for next year. So the sales rep will have the pipeline fit, and they can easily forecast. Because if you close a deal this year and you actually expect to renew this deal next year, the system needs to tell you that you are close to renewal, that in the pipeline you have additional revenue. This makes even forecasting way easier. So our approach was around automating those renewal opportunities. But as I mentioned, they are different type of approaches that could be used here.
Sure.
I would to add something to this basically, and to explain something very important. Salesforce, when you log to Salesforce and you look at the screen, it looks like very simplistic system. Okay, so you can easily get confused and say, listen, oh yeah, that looks really straightforward. I mean, come on, I can do this. I can implement this. I can install it in a matter of seconds. I can have it running without any problems. Cloud system. What's the problem? I mean, it looks really nice. It's easy to understand. Well, but this is the beauty of Salesforce, and this is why you need, people who are experienced and knowledgeable about this kind of a iceberg that Salesforce will represent. Because you see on the top of the iceberg, you see just the visible part, but below that, it's kind of an endless, not endless, but kind of a very complex and sophisticated system in a positive meaning of the word. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. And on the opposite, I think it's kind of a good thing. But that's the important part. And that's very critical to understand that. Although on the surface it looks very simplistic, something that everybody can do. Below that, it's kind of a tons of things that you don't see, kind of the technicalities that are not really visible if you don't have experience, you don't have the right knowledge about this. So that's very crucial to understand, because you need excellent partners, knowledgeable partners, which are able to properly decode this complexity and know how to properly translate this complexity and make the system, to work smoothly for you and to kind of benefit from this in the best possible way. So this was the role of Yana and also the Resolute team to help us out of making this, and so using these technical terms, decoding this complexity, but that's exactly what actually happens in the background. And you as a customer wants to exactly this, to say, this is what I want, and the smart people in the background are just doing some kind of tricks and stuff, and at the end you have something that really is useful for you. That's the optimal situation, the optimal scenario of doing these things. Unlike, from my experience, systems that takes ages to implement, takes tons of resources, takes a kind of a bunch of consultants, an army of people working there on the background, just making strange noises every day, complaining about how heavy it is and stuff like that. So this is something that you want to avoid. That's what Salesforce is not, fortunately for us and for everybody.
Right. So specifically to this high client churn rate, I mean, was the impact of this kind of thing pretty apparent right away? Like, I would imagine that the amount of work required to actually secure renewal opportunities went down significantly, right? But can you kind of tell us a little bit about the impact of this?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, when you have a small sales team, which is something that depends, of course, on the type of your business and depends on the maturity of the company and the way of working. But you would like to keep your human resources at optimal levels all the time. So the sales team is very lean. This is intentionally done by ours. So if we want to keep the sales team lean, efficient, fast, quick, so on, this is nice and fun, but it has a downside. The downside is that if you have a small team and you want to keep it like that, lean and efficient, you also need insights actionable insights from your pipeline, from your, of course, from your renewal of your contracts and everything else that you do. So if you don't have this, what we were facing as a problem, we had this lean structure, but without efficient process in place, you start to lose things. You start to miss things from your sales pipeline. You start to kind of lose control of this, of renewal process. You may say, "Oh my God, I forgot about this. Come on, man. It's a renewal time. Oh, what am I supposed to do now?" I mean, you start to run like in a panic mode, trying to figure out how to contact customer again, and and ask for renewal or remind him of renewal and stuff like that. That's why with Salesforce, this process was kind of very smooth now, and we have increased our renewal rate. We don't have for the last since we implemented Salesforce, I don't think we have a single lost contract, or
Wow.
which is kind of a very very good kind of a testament of how we managed to deal with that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, to your credit and your team's credit as well, there's a certain amount of stick-to-itness that you have to onboard, because absorbing new systems, onboarding them can be difficult. Culturally, there can be some kind of kickbacks there. So kudos to you for continuing to actually use the process. And Yana, maybe you can chime in on that at some point today, but maybe that's a topic for another webinar, is sticking to the Salesforce process, because that can be an issue at times. But anyway, why don't we go ahead and move on to a couple more challenges. So here's another one. We had some manual processes and disconnected systems. I think this is a very, very common situation in the world today. This is a big topic, and actually like one of the biggest areas of digital transformation is we have data. We have data that sits in different systems, and we want those systems to talk to each other so we can get the maximum benefit from leveraging that data. I mean, how complex was your situation?
Actually, very complex, honestly. Although I said we kind of have a really small operation at the stage of our development, at the stage of our maturity. But complex, why? Because first of all, it's not about integrating tools and systems. That's kind of the outcome of this. It's about integrating data and making use of the data and kind of monetizing the information. That's the data. That's what we wanted to do. So we've initially thought about the life cycle of this data processing in the context of doing sales, of course, and managing our accounts. So when we start thinking about this, your first question is, from where we should get insights about potential leads and customers, right? So of course, you can use a lot of modern ways to gather this information to kind of find really insights about what the customer really looks for, what potential customer are looking for in terms of cybersecurity. And this is a very interesting topic by itself, because now with some of the techniques that we use in cybersecurity, for instance, let's say open source intelligence, or stuff that we normally use for different purposes, so investigating how companies are suffering from different cyber attacks, and what kind of infrastructure they're kind of dealing with, what problems they're facing. This is something that you can dig into from the internet itself. And this approach was kind of embedded in our concept of finding information about what really our customer really looks for. Maybe it's a product, maybe it's a service, maybe it's both things together. So we needed to know that, and of course, that's easy to say than done, because systematically collect this information and kind of contextualize information and make it actionable. That's the tricky part. You can of course do a lot of searches. You can have a lot of people doing this all day long, but if you don't make this information actionable, it's kind of a waste of time. So we found, of course, technical solutions for lead generation. It's based on kind of a sales intelligence type of platform, which actually is kind of concentrating this information, this data and kind of try to provide you with insights about, these potential customers. But that's one thing. So we have one system doing sales intelligence, trying to find information about your potential leads and stuff like that. Then you need to filter out this stuff, not only to filter out based on your predefined criteria, but also to process this, practically speaking, from the sales team, because they cannot work with thousands of leads, right? This is simply not possible.
Yeah, it's not feasible.
It's not feasible. It doesn't have any value in this, because maybe you have let me give you an example. You can have a database, let's say from a conference, 10,000, people showed up in the conference. Okay, 10,000 leads, let's say. But this is just information, it's data. It doesn't mean that this is going to be converted into a lead or into opportunity just because you have that data in your hands. Mm-hmm. And practically speaking, nowadays, nobody actually can benefit really from static data like this. The sales process is far much more, difficult compared to what used to be before. The cold calling doesn't work, especially in cybersecurity. Engaging directly with people, just, hello, do you want some cybersecurity? Yes, okay, I'm going to deliver it to you. It doesn't work like that at all.
Sure.
And we have this problem with people who is making decision about cybersecurity. They are very, very, very kind of, let's say, reluctant, or kind of a very, very kind of a conservative when it comes to selling stuff to them directly. These people are kind of a stone cold people. They kind of have a poker face all the time. You cannot sell them whatever, just by, without them understanding who you are, from where you come and stuff like that. So this is kind of a side note from why we needed sales intelligence tools. But you can appreciate that every company, especially digitally enabled companies, are definitely going to appreciate this and definitely going to think about this process and what they need actually to do that. Classical marketing stuff doesn't work at all, especially when you have a complicated market environment. Anyway, so you have that piece of information, so you have to kind of funnel this into actionable things, really, which your sales team has to work on. Then you have a second problem, empowering your sales team, right? So that's the challenging part. So how these people, and this is a practical thing, imagine you come to work, you're a salesperson, you have come to work, and you have hundreds of things to do today, right? How to operationalize this problem and to control it properly. So you're going to use what, Excel, or you're going to use Outlook? What exactly you're going to use for this?
Right.
In order to, and also in order to engage with this potential leads, you need to have a kind of a workflow in the background, to have kind of steps that you follow. And imagine this kind of multiplies the problem, because today you have, let's say, on your list 100 customers, and you're at a different stage with every customer. Today you send some message on LinkedIn to this customer. To that customer you send any kind of other message. Well, third customer you met on some event, so you need to give him a call back or whatever. So you see, this is a kind of an amplification problem of for the sales team. So you needed another solution to kind of control this and make sure that the sales team is efficient and they know exactly what to do every day, every minute of the day. I'm not saying that we kind of a tyrant and kind of a controlling freaks and doing, punish salespeople with a stick all the time, making, them work like hell. No, I'm not saying that. We're talking about efficiency. Right. So as soon as you have this sequencing, this kind of a workflow of processing leads, you need, again, this to be then, delivered as an opportunity at the end, and this opportunity has to be managed properly. So everything has to be working like a single system. Everything. Otherwise, imagine you have one person logging to one platform, blah, 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 doing this. Okay, now let's say export the data, then import the data to another system, then the second system kind of processing this and export to another system, and then Salesforce. People are going to kill themselves.
The worst?
Again. No, people are just going, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Just blow my head off. You cannot do that. That's not efficiency. This kind of a killing people slowly and painfully with sales tools.
And it's certainly a direct obstacle to scale.
Exactly. And again, if you want to keep your operation lean and efficient, that's your worst enemy. So that's why we needed Salesforce to integrate all this stuff into a single life cycle, a single system that can actually handle all this data seamlessly, because otherwise you have this kind of a roadblocks all the time. So just kind of like running a car, and you go with 100 miles per hour, and then suddenly you have to stop and then just wait for something and then continue. It's like it's going to be a very inefficient process. And that's the good thing about sales, because Salesforce is built with interconnectivity in mind. So basically, it's built on the concept of integrating things, not closing them into kind of a constrained interface or something like that. It's quite the opposite, actually, way around. So, and Salesforce being on the leader of the market allows also these guys, maybe they're startup companies, maybe they're some kind of a smaller compared to the size, and they're great. They look, wow, we need to integrate with Salesforce, man. That's the way forward. So everybody is thinking about, okay, let's go with Salesforce. Okay, so you have this actually available to you by default, just because Salesforce has this kind of interoperability element inside, and also these guys also have the APIs and everything that you need in order to seemingly integrate everything together. So that was our approach, and that's why one of the reasons again did this. And let me say again that even if you're the greatest technical person on the planet, you still need people with the right knowledge, resources, and understanding of this architecture in order to make sure that you don't lose years of implementation and kind of going through these roadblocks and stuff. So again, this was the role in this process through using Resolute, and of course, the lead implementation done by Yana. So that was actually what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, just as a quick aside for you, Boris, are you quite positive you don't work for Salesforce, because you make a pretty good sales case for it? I mean,
this is what we're here for. I mean, come on. I mean, this is what we're here for, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just awesome to see you so excited about a piece of software. Like that seems weird, but like when business leaders.
My wife, I mean, to be that extent.
But it really goes to show that when you really look at the Salesforce and like the ecosystem, like you and I had talked about earlier, Yana, having the innovation that they're doing in-house, plus their partners, plus implementation partners, like all of that, aligned with you and your culture to really leverage the tool. I mean, the natural consequence of it is growth. Like, and it's kind of proven out through many case studies, over time, over the last 22 years that Salesforce has been in existence. They're not the number one customer success platform for nothing. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah. And yes, Brandon, disintegrated systems is challenge number one. So Boris gave a pretty good example with sales processes, but imagine customer support. So I remember this, it's an interesting fact actually. 80% of millennials prefer to go to the dentist rather than calling a customer support center.
Oh, I'm in that list.
Yeah, me too. Every time I call a customer support center, they ask me for my order number. Why?
There's a large number of painful things that I would willingly do before calling a support call line.
Yeah, you need to prepare everything in front of you. History orders, everything. So that's the whole idea. We call it in Salesforce 360-degree view. So this is an account-centric system, and the idea is you open the account, you open the client, and you see everything: order management, quotes, sales, billing, marketing, service, cases, tickets, everything. So that's the way to success. And having the customer in the center, especially in the last couple of years. So businesses they serve their clients. Client is number one. So that's the final destination, having everything on one screen.
Right.
And just very quickly,
go for it.
Something to this. We also had cases in which our vendors, so technology providers, they have their platforms, so customer portals built on Salesforce. All right. So it's kind of a very convenient way to also to integrate your vendor portfolio as well, or customer portals, whatever you have. So you see, you all live in the same ecosystem. and you can very efficiently engage with each other. So you have the benefit also of having other animals in the zoo living in the same place well as you and exchanging, information and, integrating processes. This can create really great level of efficiency. We are not there yet, but we have plans to kind of integrate also our vendor portfolio with those vendors, which the majority of our vendors are using Salesforce. We'll be able to integrate this more thoroughly and more kind of in more efficient manner. So also this is something that has to be noted here.
Definitely,
Sure.
partner and customer communities are number
exactly.
one priority. Actually giving your partners and customer access to data and extracting data from them. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. I was not expecting to be at this point in the presentation. We're a little behind, but that's okay. So moving on to a different challenge. So manually creating and distributing emails for proposals. This is something that a lot of companies deal with. We're trying, like you said, Boris, we're trying to monetize our data. So part of that is drafting proposals, contracts, documents, things that have to go back and forth. And so through your working with Yana, it looks like you guys have developed the integration with DocuSign to facilitate that process. What kind of led you to that decision? Was it like, just kind of comment on that process? I know it's not easy, right? Getting documents back and forth. You can kind of get yourself in the, what do they call that? The battle of the forms. When you got documents floating back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just to note something, nobody from Salesforce paying me anything for this conversation, so just make sure that you know that.
They should start doing it.
Yeah, I think so, you deserve a commission.
I don't have any relatives working for Salesforce, so anyway. Listen, I mean, first of all, two things really. I hate paper documents and I hate email. And both, this is very, very obvious problem. Email, I hate for several reasons. First of all, this is the least efficient way of communication. Secondly, it's not secure. That's one thing. So, and paperwork, it's something from our past. Come on, guys, we have to get rid of this. We are killing trees here. I mean, come on, let's, we should save the planet. We should not destroy it. So let's stop using paper all the time. So that's important element. But aside from this joke, I mean, let's say imagine, this very kind of a practical thing. You go to your office and you have to prepare a proposal, which can be very complex sometimes. Kind of a lot of descriptions, service proposals, stuff like that. And you have at least two people working on this. They start to write on Word. The formatting is broken, for some reason. Somebody injects some text here and there. Everything's kind of scrambling around.
Yeah, somebody's got last year's form, because marketing updated it or what have you.
I look into this as kind of, because I'm leading the company, I look into some proposal and oh my God, what the hell is this? I mean, come on, guys, this is outdated. You should change this with this. We're coming around with this all the time. And negotiation. Oh my God, we still live in this world when we have to negotiate things, really. I'm dreaming about implementing blockchains with autonomous type of contracts. Anyway, this is a different story. I'm not going to lose your time on that. But we still are doing this all the time. So we have it's kind of a very interesting game that we all play. So we have lawyers on both sides, and they're kind of doing some kind of a ego game sometimes, or they're trying to kind of prove to each other they don't know the law better than each other, or they're defending of course, aside from this, they are defending their companies. So of course we have negotiation process in place, but this is very inefficient way because you also use word processing, notes, comments, then you send back to email. Somebody's opening this email and then, oh my God, they have to do this again. So it's back and forth all the time. So first of all, you need to solve that. So DocuSign has this module. It's called DocuSign Negotiate. So DocuSign Negotiate is kind of built upon their platform, and you can keep track of all the changes in a very efficient way. Then you finish with all this kind of stuff. Then you press a button, sign, and this automatically gets approved and signed through DocuSign. But the beauty of this is that you integrate this with Salesforce, and just let's say if you want to close the opportunity, you don't want to, okay, download the file from Salesforce, send this to Boris. Boris, that's okay, cool. Now you can sign that and sign this paper, scan on your device, then attach this to email. Oh my God, the attachment is too big. Come on. So we need to kind of upload this to the cloud and share the link.
Pages are wrong. Or...
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, I still cannot understand how we, as a modern people, forget about millennials. I mean, forget about these young guys. How we are still doing this in very inefficient manner. That's unbelievable. But anyway, aside from that, so you integrate this. So when you want to finish your opportunity, you just press in Salesforce, send or whatever. This is generated. You have this proposal integrated with Salesforce. You can use, of course, DocuSign modules to kind of tweak the image, tweak the appearance. Or just press send. This is signed automatically. You don't have to ask anybody. If you need to send by 5 people, that's okay. They receive a copy of this. They sign it. Done. From mobile phones to wherever you want. Job done. You don't lose half of your day, you know, waving paper or opening emails and reading emails. I mean, obviously that's not efficient process. So everything is now just, you know, integrated with Salesforce. Of course, DocuSign is a good partner of Salesforce, so they have a similar integration as well. So another benefit of doing that. And of course, in order to do that, Resolute help us a lot in order to kind of don't lose time with thinking about integration, how this actually has to happen. So they run in the background and they show this is what you want exactly. This is how it looks like. This is how you work with this. That's it. That's the beauty of it. Job done.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously what we're trying to get at, right? We want our specifically when it comes to Sales Cloud, we want to enable our sales teams to basically be high speed, low drag the entire time. I know one of the obstacles that I run into as a salesperson is, you know, just sometimes there are things you have to do to take it out of the system, and anytime that happens, it always adds complexity, it always adds time, it always adds issues. And if I use a system like DocuSign or an integration like DocuSign, and of which there are many, you know, it doesn't have to be DocuSign. It could be FormStack. It could be a bunch of different options, of which Yana can help you determine which one is best. You know, that really accelerates the way we move deals through the pipeline. And anybody who's been in sales for any amount of time has heard the phrase "time kills deals," right? And so every time we have these situations where we're in and out and crossways on systems, it just increases time and kills deals. So yeah, this is absolutely kind of a paramount thing, and I know it's something that we do too. Like we have to. If we didn't have this kind of an integration, we just wouldn't be nearly as efficient as we are.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've got a couple more minutes, and I do want to give an opportunity for people to submit some Q&A questions in the sidebar if you haven't done so already. Yeah, so let's see. Stay tuned at the end. Is there going to be an issue when it comes to sending it over? Let's see how it continues. I'm trying to read a question that got in here, guys. Sorry about that. Need to continue toward. I don't think we're gonna go over time. So we'll wrap up right on time, but we may have to cut a little bit of content. That's okay. We can kind of talk on this one pretty briefly, because I think this was a third-party integration as well, or a partner integration from the App Exchange, correct, Yana? With this specific challenge with manual currency exchange rates.
Correct. So yeah, this is a mixed solution. First, Salesforce offers this advanced management solution, currency solution, but we needed an add-on to just put the up-to-date exchange rates every morning from a trustworthy source, and the source that we selected was the European Central Bank. So for businesses operating globally in different currencies and wanting to roll-up reporting into the headquarters currency, this is crucial.
Absolutely.
That's a must.
And again, the things, the like subtle things that you said there. One, automatically every morning, right? So now your finance team doesn't have to go out and source that information. It's already automatically pulled in. And because we're talking about these disparate systems that we're now integrating in together, now the data automatically flows from your sales system into your finance system, and they get the exchange rate information automatically. Like you start to see the speed, the acceleration that you can get over your entire organization once that data becomes democratized.
Absolutely.
Boris, I don't know. Do you have any comments on this specific thing? I think this is probably pretty self-explanatory, right? It was a pretty hard requirement. We have to have exchange rates.
Yeah, I mean, do we have 5 days to explain it? No, I mean, can you just?
Right.
It's kind of a simple. It looks simplistic, you know. Okay, what's the currency exchange rate today? I mean, but when you think about when we work in kind of a different geographies, of course, different continents. This is a very tough question and difficult problem to solve easily. So that's why you need to integrate with something kind of without thinking about this too much, really. So that's why Resolute suggested, and Yana kind of supported this to kind of select the right tool for that. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare asking or kind of doing this on the ERP system level, because it's how much more inefficient. And again, what you're looking to do here, imagine if you're doing a ski jump, let's say. And imagine if this kind of a jumper just takes the kind of leap and suddenly stops because there is some kind of a minor obstacle. Then they continue to jump and then stops again and continue. Then at the end, they don't be able to jump at all. Right. So what you're trying to do is just smooth jump. That's what we're trying to do. So exchange maybe something small on the first side, but imagine just before he jumps, he just has to stop because of something minor like that. So the process will not run smoothly enough. So that's kind of a small thing, but essential for making sure that your process runs smoothly and we don't have any hiccups on the road.
Essential is the right word here, definitely. For all businesses operating globally, this is essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, and this is the final obstacle. I don't know that we actually have time to cover this, but this is a good case study and some additional complexities, because I've been involved in this calculation process for sales bonus and things, and it is not easy.
No.
You know, given all the factors, like, well, did the sale happen before this date or did it happen after this date? Is it in the current payroll period? Does it blah 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 blah? Like, there's so many factors, right? And to not beat a dead horse on this, I think the point is Salesforce has an option for this too. What we basically said is, here are a bunch of challenges that businesses have come up against, and these are some of the specific ones for Amatas. And in every case, Yana, Salesforce, whoever was able to come up with a solution, and now you are seeing the benefits of that.
Correct. You know, this is not a dead horse. This is a very important topic. I think most of the audience.
I suppose it's just a dead horse within the time frame. We've got about a minute left, and I'm hoping if you have any questions out there, please pop them into the question and answers.
Yeah.
We may not be able to get to all of them or any of them, to be honest, but we will reach out to you and answer your questions. Absolutely.
So it's just going to be the last minute is going to be like a commercial for the medicine, you know, just read the
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, but very, very quickly, this is actually very important, because your sales team has to be motivated, of course, and this is the main part of their remuneration package. So you want to avoid Excel at any cost, you know, basically, or running some kind of a complex calculation manually. It's far much simpler when you take the information where actually this information belongs, which is in Salesforce directly. So you just have to build a model inside of Salesforce in order to make sure that you can benefit and don't lose time with, as you said, doing some, you know, oh my God, what date is this? Okay, so we have what's kind of the cap, what's actually the model, what kind of a percentage of sales I've done. Oh my God, I mean, smooth process. That's what we're talking about. I was quick, sorry. Yeah, I can say another half an hour about this, but we don't have time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I agree. No, you are good. We are at time. I'm sorry for that. We talked a lot, but I hope the content that we delivered was valuable. I do see some questions in here. I'm certainly going to reach out to the askers of these questions and address them. And there are definitely some questions in here that maybe are a whole webinar on their own. So stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll bring Boris back and have some more conversation, but it'll certainly be me and Yana on the next one if we talk about Salesforce. So at this point, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm sorry we're a minute over, but I appreciate your extra minute. We'll release you back to your day. And again, keep an eye out for your email. You will have a recording there in about 24 hours for you to review. And if you have any questions at all about Salesforce, about the services that we offer, just reach out to us at Resolute Software. It's going to be at www.resolutesoftware.com. And if you want to check out Boris and Amatas, you can do so at www.amatas.com. They are cybersecurity experts. So thank you again for everybody for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care now.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.